Hello and welcome to this pattern recognition video. So today I'm going to have at least 10 puzzles for you to solve with Checkmate in 2. They're rated 1500 to 2500, but because you know that there's a mate in 2 to find, they shouldn't be too difficult. So let's check this out. If you're not familiar with pattern recognition, basically you solve a set of puzzles and then instead of forgetting about them, you solve them multiple times to help the patterns be more ingrained into your long-term memory, and hopefully you can use them later in your own games. All right, let's see what is happening in this puzzle. We have the white pieces. It looks like the queen was under attack by the rook here and just retreated within the vicinity of our king. But, what do we do? First thing you want to check is, as long as you're not in check, you can do a piece count if you'd like. We have 4 pawns, our opponent has 4, and all the other material is not even. We're down by a rook. So down by, our opponent has an extra rook, so we need to act in a hurry here. What can we do? Well, you want to look at checks, captures, and threats in that order, as I've mentioned in past videos. And also, if you are a returning viewer, a subscriber, let me know if you're getting bored with these pattern recognition videos. If there's other videos you would like to see, you can put in a request in the comments and I'll try and make a video if I can. So, leave your requests. Let me know if you're getting bored with these pattern recognition videos or if you want more. Okay, checks, captures, and threats in that order. If we look at the checks, our rook can go here or here. If the rook moves, to h6, the queen would just capture it. Now, something else we have to look at is this battery lined up. So hopefully you found the right move. Pause at any time if you need to think longer. If not, we're not going to go here or the queen would just capture the rook. So instead, we're going to go here, delivering check. Now remember, whenever a king is in check, there are 3 or less options: capture, block, or run. And if the king can't do any of those, it's a checkmate. So here, with the pieces being side by side, there's no way to block that. So the king would have to capture the rook, or the rook would have to capture rook. And then that would open the position up for us to deliver a checkmate with the queen to h7. So check and mate. So nice little pattern there. And remember, it takes on average 3 pieces, give or take, to deliver a checkmate. It depends really on what defensive resources your opponent has. If you have 5 attackers and they only have 2 defenders, you definitely want to take a look at trying to break through and maybe deliver a checkmate. All right, on to puzzle number 2. We have pawn pushing forward here, protecting the bishop, which was pinned to the king. And that also blocks this check as well. So a lot going on here. Now, because of that, our rook could just capture the bishop because this pawn here is pinned by the queen and would not be able to recapture. But do we have a good follow-up? You definitely want to double check. If you're putting somebody in check, don't just check because you can. Make sure you have a good follow-up to that check, that gives you some advantage, something. So if we capture here, then what? The king would have to move. If the king moved here to attack our rook, we have a mate with the queen. And pause at any time, like I said, if you want to think longer without me giving moves away. So, maybe we go there. The king can't go here or here or here. or anywhere over here, because that would lead to a mate. So the only option after we capture is for the king to go here. And then what? Do we have a check after that? Yes, we do. We have a check here. So that looks pretty good. We go there and deliver the mate here. So this is a great little pattern. Is it similar to the epaulet mate, where there are, two pieces on each side of the king, like he's wearing shoulder epaulets on a uniform, and then the queen attacks him in the center? Maybe something similar to that, but here we have the rook preventing the king from running, and a pattern to know: when the queen is one square away from the king like this, the queen will attack these squares through the center, and these two here. So you need to make sure that all four of these squares have been accounted for, as they are with the rook covering these two, and then the pieces, white's own pieces, preventing him from running. All right, that was a 15-17 rated problem. On to problem number 3. Rook has just captured, so we could, well, we don't want to recapture because this rook would take our queen, so that's no good. Let's look for checks first. The only checks we have are queen moves along this diagonal here or here. So what is best? All right. Well, if we go here, we cover these squares. The king can only move here. Then what? Do we have a follow-up? I don't see a good follow-up after that. All right. Because, if we go there, king runs here. If our rook comes up to here, well, the king, well, excuse me. If we go there, the king can run to here. This is what the move I was looking at first. So it looks like it's better just to go here, because now the queen will be covering this as well as this. The king can only go here, and then our rook can deliver the mate. So check and mate. So great little pattern here. And rook and queen working together can be, quite a brutal attack against an opponent's king, especially if you get that king on the run. So here the queen is covering all of these squares, and the rook is delivering the check and mate. All right, 1857 rated was that puzzle. On to puzzle number 4. We have a rook capturing here. What was that? Capturing a pawn. Now this pawn could fall next. Oh, excuse me. Both of these are attacking. All right. White to move. What do we do here? 2-move checkmate. Well, we want to look at all the checks. The rook, this rook could move here, but it would be captured. The rook can also move here, but then the king can start running. At least here, this rook prevents the king from moving, up the board. So maybe we leave that rook there to corral the king. We use the other rook. Do we go here or here? Well, we also have a pawn covering that square. So maybe instead of a back rank mate, we can deliver a side rank mate. So if we go here, we have both these rooks working together. The king can only go here, and then we can deliver the mate right here. So check and mate. Great pattern there, where instead of a back rank mate, we checkmate the king on the side of the board, covering all of these squares, and then the other rook helps, covering that square along with the pawn. So as I mentioned, a lot of times it takes 3 pieces, or a pawn helping as well, to deliver that mate on average, more or less depending on what the defenses are. All right, here we go. We have a king that was in check. The rook is protected by the bishop, so could not be captured. The king steps to the side. Now what? What do we do here? Well, it would be nice if our queen could go here and deliver a mate, but that's covered by the knight and the bishop. If we look at checks, well, if we go here, the rook would be captured. What other checks do we have? Oh, we have a discovered attack here. The bishop is lined up on the king. So if we found a good place to move that rook, we'd have a discovered check with no way to block that. So the king would have to run. So where do we move our rook? Where can this rook go for the maximum effect here? Okay. The queen is covering here and here. Oh, wow. Maybe we have a crazy move, where we put the rook here with check. If the king moves... Now, remember, 3 options. When you check the king, capture, block, or run. If none of those are possible, it's a mate. Here, if we move the rook to g5 with check, the pieces are side by side, so you can't block. Nothing can capture that rook, including the king, because it'll be protected by the queen, but there's also a discovered check. So the options are for the king to capture the pawn on h4 or move to f4. Okay, but if we go here, and the king moves there, do we actually have... Do we actually have a mate in 2? So if we go there, if the king just goes here, well then what? We can move our rook up with a double discovered check leading to mate. So the king would have to go over here. And then what do we do to continue? Wow. Okay, hopefully you're doing a little better than I am. If we go here, the king moves over here. It looks like he can escape up to there. So I don't think that's the way to go. So check, king runs. That blocks. I don't think there's a follow-up there. All right, what else do we have? Um, hmm. Wow. What if we go here? We take that, and then we can maybe go here. Okay, let's look at that. So if we go here, capturing the pawn, we have a discovered attack. If the king takes the pawn on h4, then our queen cannot deliver the mate because of that knight. Oh, and excuse me, the king can't take that anyway. So because the queen's protecting it. So we go there, check. The king can only go here, and then our queen delivers the mate, I believe. All right, so that one was a little more complicated. Hopefully you did better than I did. We're halfway through, and that was a 2015 rated problem. On to puzzle number 6. King was in check by the rook and moves forward into the action, which is something you definitely want to try and accomplish. If you're down into an endgame and there are not many pieces on the board, you need to activate everything, including your king, as long as it's safe to do so. Here we have a queen. We have one extra pawn, but we have a queen versus our opponent's 2 minor pieces and a rook. So that's not too good for us. Mate in 2. How do we do it? Okay. Well, we notice that, and we want to look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. But I mean, if we're looking for a checkmate in 2, you definitely want to look at the checks first. So check, can't go here because of the bishop or here because of the pawn. The rook is covering here and here. This pawn is covering that. So the only options are no. Let's see. What did I say earlier? Yeah, white is behind in material, but has the queen. So we do need to go here delivering a check. Or we do need to get some attack going, is what I meant to say. I'm trying to focus and give a narrative at the same time. So, check. What I'm worried about is if the king goes here, how do we continue? Oh, I guess we could just, no, if we try to go there, he can capture. Okay, so maybe we have something better. Like the knight jumping up here, delivering a check and preventing the king from running. Am I looking at that correctly? That almost looks like... no, it's not a mate because the king can push forward. But maybe this is the way to go. Check with the knight. The king would have to move forward. Then can our rook deliver the mate there? I believe so. Check and mate. All right, interesting pattern there where, what was that? 5 3 pieces and 2 pawns working together to deliver that mate. And that was rated 2094. All right, on to puzzle number 7. We have what here? Rook centralizing, targeting our rook. What do we do? Oh, wow. Okay. We can kind of decoy our king away from the defense of that rook. So hopefully you found the answer. Take a look. Pause if you need to. If not, we're going to go here, delivering the check. If the king captures, which he's forced to do, then we can deliver a mate here. So does that work? We have the bishop covering through here. King is defending this. So if we pull the king away by going there, forcing him to capture, we can deliver that mate. All right, so check and mate. Once again, we had 3 pieces working for that checkmate, and the final 2 deliver the mate. So interesting pattern there. Okay, on to puzzle number 8. We just had a capture. This pawn is threatening to, push forward, promote to a queen. So we need to figure out how to go after our opponent's king. Luckily, we have queen hovering around. Bishop is lined up on the king. Oh, and also this pawn is pinned to the king by that bishop. So we can use that to our advantage. Pause the video if you need to. If not, here we go. We're going to go queen to h6, delivering the check. And that pawn cannot capture because the bishop is pinning it to the king. So the king would have to run, and then we can capture the pawn backed up by our queen or by our bishop. So check and mate. All right, that was rated 2131. Great little pattern there. On to puzzle number 9. So we have 2 more. The bishop has dropped back, attacking the queen. So that also prevents us, well, as does the queen. We can't go here and deliver a mate. So what can we do? If we try to go there, delivering a check, because the king is in a stalemated position by our queen, the king can't move anywhere. So if we go here, the rook could capture. Oh, pulling that rook away from the defense, and then we can deliver a mate up here. And if, well, let's play this out. So if I go here, if the queen would have blocked, well, then we could have just, captured that way. But here, now we can deliver the mate. So great pattern there. Queen and bishop working together. Queen delivering mate and preventing the king from running. Rated 2097. Okay, the final puzzle, number 10. Here we go. Pawn pushes forward, attacking our bishop. What can we do? Well, let's see what we have available to us. We have rook, bishop, rook, and queen. Do we have any checks? Well, we have quite a few checks. Rook can move here. Queen can go here. Well, I shouldn't say quite a few checks, but we have some. Queen can also go here or here and deliver a check, but those don't look too good as the queen would be captured. So, what can we do to break through and get to that king? we move there, the king would capture. So maybe we go here because our rook is preventing the king from running to the other side of the board by going there. So queen checks. The only option, the king can't run, queen can't be captured. The only thing to do is to block. And then how do we follow up? So check, block, and now what? Huh. All right. Maybe we could move our bishop out of the way and prepare to go up here. But if we do that, what options does our opponent have? Oh, okay. Also, we have to watch out for that move, delivering check to our own king. So we have to play some forcing, checking moves. All right, I don't know. I'm still thinking this move, delivering the check. The bishop is the only way to go to block. So we would have a queen here, bishop there. How do we continue after that? So check, block. Oh, it allows us to do that. So check, and then this great pattern with the bishop and rook working together, attacking, covering these squares, and the queen covers that one. And the bishop and queen cover the other one. All right, that was rated 1585, so I guess it should have been easier. It felt like that one was a little complicated. Feel free to leave comments. As always, I love hearing from viewers and subscribers. Let me know, do you want me to keep doing more of these pattern recognition videos? Are you getting tired of them? Is there anything else you would like to see that you think would help your chess? Do you have any requests? Leave those in the comments. Like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.